Hello. Today's question is, who are dolphins and what role do they play, if any, in the Ascension? Who are dolphins and what role do they play, if any, in the Ascension? So this is a question that was submitted by someone else, and I think it's an interesting question. I'm curious what the answer is as well. If you are interested in having a private channel for yourself, then all you need to do is click the link you can see below this video, and that'll take you to a place where you can get more information and decide if you want to make an inquiry. It's totally up to you. Okay. Alright, so who are dolphins and what role do they play in the Ascension, if any? Greetings and thank you for the question. Who are dolphins and what role do they play, if any, in the Ascension? Let us start by saying that in the fourth density realm, a primary purpose is to explore the light, to discover all the ways that the light can be. And this includes exploring all of the forms that the light can take in the physical experience. So the fourth density experience, in the context of linear time, is long, and during this cycle there will be, for those beings transitioning through fourth density or expanding into fourth density, will include many incarnations, because as one expands through incarnations, what is occurring is there is an expansion into their own infinity. So you are the One, and the One is infinite. It is the All. And so your purpose, being an individuation of the One, is the same as the One's purpose, which is to know thyself experientially. And so if you are the One, then to know yourself as the One is a process of continuous expansion. And so when there is an ascension to a higher density state, what is actually occurring is you are now accessing more of your undiscovered infinite potential. And so there is a paradigmal difference between the different densities. And so where there is, for the Earth human right now, an expansion through third density. And then once there is the expansion to the limits of what is possible in third density, then there needs to be a paradigmal shift so that there becomes the capacity to continue the expansion in ways which are not part of the possibilities within third density. So there will be a transition for humanity into fourth density, where there can now be a expansion into more of the infinity on this incremental journey back to the ultimate realization that you are the One. So for the Earth human, in the third density experience, the primary objective is to transcend spiritual dichotomy and to be fully realized as a being of light. Because everything which incarnates from the One is incarnating from the light. The One is light. The energy of the One is light. And so as you have incarnated from the One, you have incarnated from the light. So your constituency is light and nothing else. And yet in the earth human experience, there is the unique presentation of spiritual dichotomy, which is a feature exclusive to the solar system apex sentience. So on the various planets in your solar system where this has played out, all have presented with this unique capacity for spiritual dichotomy, where there is a identification with the light. I love that. There is a identification with the darkness. I hate that. And a very simplified demonstration. And then the culmination of the transition through third density will be a transcendence of this spiritual dichotomy to have the realization that I am the light. And then there will be no more identification with darkness. And this will be the culmination of the third density experience for the earth human, transitioning into the fourth density. And it is during the transition, during the actual ascension event, that this cycle will be complete. It is actually when passing through the singularity of ascension that there will be a completion of that realization. Whereas it is actually as passing through the singularity of ascension, similar to passing through the birth canal to be birthed as something new on the other side, it is actually during this process that the realization of self as the light can be completed. And then in the fourth density, the paradigmal shift in the way that purpose manifests will be to explore the light. Now that there is recognition that the earth human is the light, then the next phase is to explore what that means. What does it mean to be the light? How can one be the light? What are the limitations, if any, of the light? It is this process of discovery which will be the predominant feature of the transition through fourth density, expanding into more of the infinite potential which is possible within fourth density, until this infinite potential has this portion of the infinite potential, this increment of the infinite potential, which is contained within the fourth density experience, has been fully exploited. And then for the expansion of this journey back to full realization of self as the one to continue, there will again need to be a paradigmal shift to a new infinite potential access, where the purpose again will be different in some way. And this will be when there is the ascension from fourth density to fifth density, and so on. Part of the experience in fourth density can be exploring the different ways that you can take physical form. So, this may include, and it is by choice, not all will make these choices, but one of the choices that can be made is to incarnate in different biospheres as different forms of life. And there can be a full exploration of all the different ways that you can be as different forms on different planets. And then eventually, as you continue to deepen your transition into fourth density, and there is a shift which is calibrated to this transition, this deeper transition, to greater proportionality of light and a lesser proportionality of matter, until eventually there will be the capacity to exist entirely of light, to be a light being in physicality, where you literally have no physicality, although in the physical realm. So in a visual context, you could say that you will have the capacity to be a sphere of light, something which has no mass yet is still alive. So, from the beginning of fourth density until this later stage, there is also the possibility of experimenting with different incarnations in different places, different life forms. So this brings us back to this original question: who are the dolphins? So the dolphins species on planet Earth are beings that are going through these higher density incarnations and choosing to explore what it means to be the light by discovering the different experimental life forms they can become and choosing to incarnate on Earth as the dolphin. There is the option to take any life form which one chooses to take during this exploratory phase of the light. However, usually, typically, although this is not a rule, but this is just a typical selection which is made, is to choose to be a being which is free and also has a cerebral capacity which allows them to be very cognizant and alert and cerebral about the experience they are having. And this is why beings that have incarnated from high density states to have an experience on Earth have chosen the dolphin form, because the dolphin is very free and also has a high cerebral capacity. It is not all dolphin species that could be described this way. There are some dolphin species which are more of a integration, an expression of the Earth being. And so it is not a incarnation of a high density being having an Earth dolphin experience, but instead is more of an innate experience of the Earth being through the many life forms which she expresses herself through. Particularly the ocean preferring dolphins tend to be incarnations of high density beings, and the river version of dolphins tend to be the Earth being expressing itself through the many life forms within its biosphere. Even so, those river-preferring dolphins that are an expression of the Earth being and not a higher density incarnation are still a higher form of Earth being sentience. So they are representative of the higher vibrational capacity of the expressions of the earth being through its biosphere. And so they are very similar in characteristic to the dolphin beings, which are an incarnation of a higher density being. Because from a vibratory sense, there is a lot of similarity. And the expressiveness of a being is very predictable based on its vibration, regardless of where it has incarnated from, what its origins are. Because as the vibration of any being increases, it is becoming more expressive of the One. And the One is a reduction to one. So, as there is an increase in vibration of all beings across existence, returning to the full realization that it is the One, then there is an increasing similarity and expressiveness of how they are, how they be, because they are heading back to this single bullseye. The dolphin's role in the ascension experience, particularly the ascension experience of the earth, is to assist with the elevation of vibration. So the dolphin form has a capacity for a very high vibrational state within the physical earth biosphere, as compared to animals which are less advanced in their anatomy and biology, and in particular their neurology. As the earth being approaches its ascension, and it is now very close to ascending, and it is really in a state of waiting, because the earth being wishes to ascend as a complete being, and the sentience of the earth will be, on the other side of the ascension event, the earth human, the humanity being will be the awakened sentience of the earth. The humanity being will, in its fifth dimension, that it will exist. So the earth human exists in 4 dimensions, the 3 dimensions of space and the 1 dimension of time. And then when it ascends to a 4th density state, it will exist in a new dimension, an extra dimension, the 5th dimension. Its 5th dimension will be existing as a unity. So for the earth human, in answer to I am, it will be I am the individual and I am the unity, and the unity being the humanity being. And then as this awareness grows, it will also eventually become I am the earth being. And this will be the 5th dimension, to exist as the individual and the unity simultaneously. Existing as the unity is the 5th dimension. The earth right now is waiting because there has been an intrusion into the earth experience. Then the earth human has been deliberately waylaid, has been deliberately inhibited in its preparation for ascension. And so where there should be a calibration such that there is a comparative readiness of the earth and the earth human to ascend at the same time, there is instead a gap where the earth is very close to being ready and the earth human is lagging behind. But there is an acceleration, and now the earth human is closing the gap towards this state of readiness. As you can see in looking about your Earth human experience, it is a time now of very tremendous change. A change of a greater scale than has ever been experienced on a global basis during the Earth human history. So as part of this preparation for Ascension, which the Earth has been on, building up to the Ascension event, there is the raising of vibration for the entire Earth being. And there are some life forms within the Earth biosphere which are more tasked with that than others. And so, for example, in the vegetation biosphere, there is the red cedar, the sequoia, the very large trees which are found growing in places like just beyond the San Francisco Bay in California, where there are these very, very large trees, larger than found anywhere else on Earth. These trees in particular, of all of the vegetation on Earth, are tasked with raising the vibration of the vegetation of the planet, so that there is this calibration of all facets of the Earth being a raising in vibration in readiness for its ascension to a higher vibrational state. Similarly, in the oceans, the dolphin and also the whale are tasked with this raising the vibration of the aquatic biosphere of the Earth. And so, to do this, it is not a matter of being skilled in creating vibration, for example, but it is really about a capacity to be joyful, a capacity to be peaceful, a capacity to emanate a vibration which is of a higher quality. And the higher the vibration, then the more it is expressive of the light. And the light, in the lexicon of human emotion, is love and its derivatives. The one is love and its derivatives. The energy of the one, the light, is a flowing of love and its derivatives. And so, the more a being is expressive of love and its derivatives, then the more it is expressive of the one, of the light. So, the large trees in California, they are expressive of the light in a form of profound peace. This is a vibration of the light spectrum which they very powerfully emanate. And this is a rising of the vibration of the entire planet. And so in a sense, the vibration they emanate is so powerful and so potent that it has a harmonizing effect on all of the vegetation across the entire planet. Such is the power and capacity of these great beings. In the oceans, the whales and the dolphins are expressive of a peace and a joy. So the whale is very expressive of a peaceful emanation, expression of the light, which is a raising of vibration, and the dolphins in particular are very playful, very joyful, very expressive of their love for one another and for all other aspects of the biosphere including those beings that they consume. These smaller fish that they eat, they still are in a loving relationship with them. And embedded in this loving relationship is gratitude. And these are of the spectrum of light. So, once you have transitioned into a fourth density state, which may be during the Earth Ascension event, or it may be somewhere else. If you are not compatible with the Ascension event when it occurs, which some humans won't be, and they won't be because they are vibrating below a threshold, because they still identify with the darkness. They still hold some identity with that energy spectrum, which isn't them. It's a misconception of self. And when there is this misconception of self, because there is an identity with an energy spectrum which isn't literally them, then this is a lowering of vibration. And so when there is the harvest, which is called the harvest because it is a removing of the head from the stalk, those who are below this junction where the head meets the stalk will not be in a compatible state, and so will not be harvested, but instead be recycled back into an incarnation cycle, possibly on a different planet, and then they will have an opportunity again to come to the Ascension event and be harvested into a fourth density state. Those that are above the threshold and are harvested during the Ascension event will become fourth density beings, and then during this transition through the infinite potential of this increment of the infinite potential of the one which is contained within the fourth density, will have the opportunity eventually, after several incarnations, to incarnate on different planets as different life forms. So, there will be the option to incarnate as a high intelligent aquatic life form on a planet if that is what you choose to do. So there is the possibility that you could, in the future, looking at time in a linear way, to be an aquatic being joyfully playing in the oceans of a planet somewhere. And not just that, but also many other options will be available to you during your exploration of the ways that the light can be. Until eventually, you will become a being of light, literally light. A being which glows yet has no density, has no mass. When this state is accomplished, where it is possible to exist entirely as the light, it will be a transcendence of death, because there will be the capacity at this time when there is no physicalization unless by choice. Then there will be the capacity to transition from the afterlife and back again at will. So death itself will have been transcended. And being in the afterlife, or being in the physical realm, will be equally as accessible. And so the organic process of reincarnation, where it requires the two gender binaries to come together to form a new biological entity, which is then birthed or hatched or germinates, you will instead be able to be in the afterlife and then through a decision become a physicalized being. And then ultimately, at the end of this transition through fifth density, where you have, through fourth density, where you have explored all of the ways that you can be the light, then the epiphanic realization, which will demark the transition from fourth density into fifth density, will be, I am eternal choice, meaning that there is nothing which I cannot be. And this is similar to the epiphanic realization, which ends the third density experience, transitioning into fourth density. This is the paradigmal shift, because when there is a epiphanic realization, then this makes possible a completely paradigmal shift in the way that one exists. So, at the end of the third density experience, the epiphanic realization is, I am the light. And when this realization has been made and the spiritual dichotomy has been transcended, darkness becomes a redundancy that is never self-identified with, this makes possible a paradigmal shift in the way that one can exist, that one will exist. And then at the end of this fourth density experience, where there has been exploration of the light, the epiphanic realization will be, I am eternal choice. And that will be the demarcation point for, again, a paradigmal shift in the way to be. Let us finish by saying all facets of nature are there purposely. And so in your everyday moments as you live your life, whenever you encounter any form of the biosphere, the earth being, which you yourself also are, treat it with reverence. Treating it with reverence can be as simple as acknowledging it, being aware of it. This is enough, and it is an elevation of the earth biosphere in vibration, because by acknowledging it, you are being expressive of a vibratory range of the light. And this acknowledgement needs to be conditioned to say an acknowledgement in a positive way. So it is not cursing nature, but instead is a fond acknowledgement that it is there. And this is a raising of your vibration and a raising of the earth being's vibration. You are the earth being. You are not separate from the earth being. You are not separate from nature. You literally are nature. And so for you to be a more complete being, and also to increase your readiness for ascension, then allow yourself to be integrated into the earth being, to become part of nature, to recognize that there is no separation between you and nature, because you literally are nature. And if you allow this connection, this integration to occur, then you will naturally be harmonized in the direction of ascension, because the earth being is already very poised and for the ascension, and it is waiting for this gap between itself and the earth being, which will be its future sentience, to close, so that there can be a combined ascension. So the earth is already vibrating with a frequency of readiness, and if you allow yourself to integrate into nature, to become more part of nature, to spend more time in nature, to have a relationship with nature, then it will naturally harmonize you to this state of readiness. It will bring you closer to being in a state of readiness, so when the ascension occurs, you are above the threshold and will be harvested during the ascension event. Thank you. We hope that you found this channel to be interesting, and we would like to express to you that the Earth Being wishes you to know that you are profoundly loved, and that it calls to you to awaken to your integration into it, to realize that you are the Earth Being having a unique experience of itself through the proxy, which is you. So you are profoundly loved by a very ancient being every moment of your life since your very first moment. And when you recognize this and you allow yourself to be receptive of this, then the birthright of energetic love and nourishment coming from the earth is yours. And one of the effects of this embracement, of this willful integration into the vibration, this birthright energetic supplement coming from the earth, is a calibration with the earth frequency to the place of ascension readiness. Thank you. We love you.